This is a PI Advice Podcast. This is a PI Advice Podcast.
Oh, yeah. It's business time. What's going on, everybody? This is Andrew with the Private Investigator Advice Podcast, and I am super duper pumped up for this podcast. Probably only because I haven't podcasted in so long. So let me shut this down. Yeah, what's going down? I have, well, man, it's been summer, so I've been vacationing with the fam for a little bit, and we went out to Leavenworth, Washington, spent some time with the entire family, and then we did some ocean time. We went down to Ocean Shores, and spent a few days down there, and we also made it to Idaho. So all you guys from Idaho, what's up? We went up to Silverwood and did the whole amusement park thing. You know, this isn't California. When you live in California, there's like an amusement park everywhere. You know, you got Disneyland right down the road, you know, at least if you're in Southern California. So, you know, a 5-hour drive over to Silverwood amusement park, pretty big deal. Actually, we got there early. But anyways, yeah, you know, and here's the thing, you know, and I'm like, you know, I used to travel a lot. And when I did, I really, you know, grew fond of Comfort Inn suites. And I'm not saying this to bash, we're about to say, to bash Comfort Inn suites. It's just, I've always had a good experience with them. You know, I started doing those reward points when that first came out. And then I was like, oh, I'm like a super elite member. And I started like getting free days. And, you know, we'd go away on a vacation or whatever, like a weekend vacation. I have all these points. And I'd go and use those points for our vacation, you know, spend next to nothing. But anyway, so we decided to stay in a Comfort Inn suite not far from the amusement park. And we walk in, you know, we check in and we walk in, and, you know, there's stains on the bed sheet, you know, like the bed cover. It's this big red blotch. And I was like, oh, what's that? And, you know, my wife's like, yeah, what's going on there? And I didn't know if it was like somebody spilled some, you know, nail polish, or it was blood, or I don't know what's going on, man. But I was like, almost like, okay, well, I'll sleep in that bed. I'm thinking to myself, right? I didn't even spit this out yet. My wife probably got mad. And then she goes and takes a look at the other bedspread, and there's like this white stains on there. I'm like, what is going on? You know, like, this is not the Comfort Inn experience that I've been accustomed to. And so, and then there was like, you know, like the bed skirt had stains on it. I'm like, all right, go down there. And the guy like automatically says, you know, I go, hey, there's stains all over the comforter. He's like, well, so we can either issue you know, cancel your reservation. You know, you can just check out, not pay a dime, or we can put you in another room. I'm like, dude, is this going to be a problem with every room? I mean, I don't want to be a jerk about this, but I don't want to move all our crap to the next room and be like, hey, you got stains on the bed too. So I go, let me go upstairs, get on my computer, see if I can find something else. And so I did, and I found a nice Holiday Inn down the road. It was way better. And so I made the reservation, paid a little bit extra money, and checked out of the hotel. But Comfort Inn, man, very disappointed. I mean, I know it's like one out of all I've been to, but still, man, not cool. So square that away. All right. Well, so yeah, that's what I did. I did the vacation thing. Been working too, like you know. It's just been busy. It's like, you know, summer's busy time. And I was still hoping that I could podcast and, you know, continue on, like, you know, at least every 3 weeks or so if I could, or even more. But it's just I've just been exhausted. I've been able to put out some blogs and stuff. And I think I made a video, which I'll talk about a little bit later here. But yeah, that's been basically it. And so I apologize, guys. I wish I could put one out. You know, I wish this was my full-time job. How awesome would that be? Then I could like, you know, just talk to you guys like every 3 or 4 days or every week. But it's not, at least not yet. So yeah, and I got some new Audible books, and I'm always like, you got to learn and you got to get your books to learn. And if you don't like to learn, get your something, to listen to that you just like to listen to, or a book that you like to read or whatever. And so I've been kind of like information overload because I'm always got, I've got every podcast I have isn't even for entertainment for the most part. I mean, they could be funny, but it's more informative. It's like learn about something, learn about the internet, learn about, podcasting, whatever. And so I'm just kind of like overload. So then I got a book based off a recommendation from my brother-in-law, who's a bookaholic. He's a book fanatic. And he reads all the time, and he says, "Hey, I just finished this book. It is the best book I've ever written, or not written. That'd been nice. No, best book I ever read." And I'm like, "Really?" And I thought, "Wow, that's pretty impressive coming from him." And he's like, "Yeah, it's Game of Thrones." I'm like, "You mean the movie or the TV show Game of Thrones?" I don't have cable, so I'm a little bit off. And he's like, "Yeah, best book I've ever read." I'm like, "Wow." Well, I'm going to go see if it's on Audible. So we got back from vacation and I checked on Audible, and sure enough, it's on there. It's like 100 hours of listening, but it's on there. And so I'm probably like 3 or 4 hours into it. I'm not even scratching the surface on the book. But it's not bad. It's not bad. I actually had to pause it for a little while because I'm listening to another book. It's called Purpose Driven Life, which is also a good book. But yeah, so if you have information overload and you just want to, maybe just not learn something, maybe just kind of like drift off into a book, have it being read to you when you're on your way home from your hour drive or however long it is, whether you were a private investigator or not, you got to give them a shot. And so, as you know, and I say this every week or every podcast, Audible has a deal where you can get a free book by signing up with them, and there's no obligation. You can literally download the book onto the computer, get the app, download the phone to your app, and just cancel and just say, no, I don't want it anymore. But you'll still have the book. And you could do that by going to audibletrial.com/PI Advice Podcast. That's audibletrial.com/PI Advice Podcast. Dude, get your free book. All right. So Game of Thrones and Purpose Driven Life, that's what I'm currently reading. And real quick, and I did this for another podcast I did. I'm going to do it for you real quick. So, it's just not read to you in like a voice like mine, because that would be horrible. But it's read. I mean, they always get like these good readers. Like it's like the reader is appropriate for the book. And so I'm just going to play a quick clip here.
Sansa's works as pretty as she is, Septa Mordain told their lady mother once.
That's probably not the best clip, like book-wise, but I mean, you get the idea. You got the voice on it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. They do a good job with this stuff. I mean, I think all these digital books are the future, whether you're reading them on your digital device or, or you're listening to them. Someone's talking to and reading to you. All right. So another thing going on. So we'll talk about a little bit about technology here. I've been buying some techie stuff lately. Not just the spy cams, but we'll talk about that in a sec. But I've been using a MiFi or a Wi-Fi or whatever they call it. The ones, your mobile Wi-Fi. And now I have an option with my iPhone to use their data on it. And it's like $20, but I'm getting 3G speeds. Not very fast for, other than just barely browsing. You can't watch any videos. You can't watch any movies on it. You can't do anything. Really, it's just, you can, but it's really slow. You have to have like this optimized connection. So I went and got this clear internet thing. It's basically gives you 4G, which is pretty fast if you got a great connection to it. And it's $50 a month, and it's unlimited data. I mean, you can just browse to your heart's content, watch videos, whatever, and it's fast. And apparently, a lot of kids use this for gaming because, it's just easier for them to do it. At least that's what I've heard. That's what the kids are saying these days. But yeah, so I got that, and I was using it for like 6 months or maybe more, $50 a month for that. And I'm like, if I get, their service area is pretty limited. It's really, they just haven't done a great job with it. So like more than 50% of my surveillances or just assignments in general are not in the zone of this place. And I feel like I'm losing, I'm paying $50 for nothing. And even sometimes that I do have a connection with Clear, it's not a strong connection, so I barely get any service at all. So finally, I'm like, all right, dude, I got to get something better because, when I'm sitting in my car for freaking 8, 12 hours a day, and sometimes I don't even have a view of the house. I'm just watching a road waiting for his car to leave. I could be doing work, research or, whatever. This doesn't mean don't pay attention to your case. They pay you a lot of money to watch a case, pay attention. But anyways, yeah. So, I went down to Verizon and I went down there and talked to them about their MiFis, which essentially is like Clear, but it's Verizon's going to make their money. So I bought the MiFi thing. It's like a little mobile hotspot for internet. And it's $50 a month, but I only get 5 gigabytes of data a month, which I shouldn't go over unless I'm watching movies on Netflix or something like that, which I don't. And it also has LTE speeds, which is like faster than Comcast, or if not just a little bit less fast. It's fast. It's really fast. I'm super impressed. So I got it, and I've been using that, and I've been very pleased with it. So, it's something to consider if you're in your car all day and you need to be online. Maybe, you got your business and you still working surveillance, and you got other people working for you. Maybe you're prelimming cases, or, maybe you're on IRB, or, whatever. You need a fast connection. Definitely, I would recommend the mobile hotspot. And more particularly, if you don't have LTE, then I don't know if it's going to be worth it to you, but LTE, if you can get that, that's super cool. All right, so enough of that. Let's see here. We hit a milestone for the PI Advice podcast. Well, not really the podcast. That's the kind of network of the PI Advice thing, whatever you want to call it, brand. We hit 100,000 views. We're actually well over that now. And we hit 400 subscribers, and actually at 441 now as I record this. But, honestly, if it wasn't for the support of you guys listening and emailing me and, giving me ideas of things to what you want to learn, I mean, we wouldn't even be at this. We wouldn't even be at this number. So I just want to thank you guys. It's not only the ideas and stuff, but it's the motivation when you say, hey, that really helped me. That video on whatever, wow, that you really touched the nerve on that one or whatever. In fact, I actually got a message from a guy the other day. I had recorded a video about, just like the initial video, like, things to focus on, like, get the face, zoom out, frame them in, the video. Pretty basic stuff, but it's just something that isn't always taught, so people just don't realize the reason behind it, like why you're doing it. And, and like the whole, as private investigators, when you're videotaping, you don't feel like, I think it's like a natural reaction, like you don't feel like you're doing anything, so you feel the need to zoom in and out. Like there's a reason, like you want to feel like you're doing something. At least that's my reason that I think it's happening. It's probably one of the reasons why I do it sometimes. But I wrote in there, I'm like, hey, don't zoom in and out. Okay, just get them in the frame and make small adjustments, but do not zoom in and out on their face or different things of their body. Just keep them in frame. And a gentleman messaged me and says, "Hey, I just got back from practicing, and that's exactly what I was doing. And I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to be doing that or something like that." And so that little thing right there, like, okay, well, you know what? I'm really glad I made that video because somebody else got something from it, because I don't want to make videos that are just like, oh yeah, that doesn't apply to me, and it can't, it has to apply to somebody. It has to serve a purpose. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys watching and listening, and you guys know that, we got the YouTube videos over. If you just search Private Investigator Advice, you guys, or PI Advice, you will find all their videos. Just click on the channel, subscribe to it if you haven't already. When you subscribe to it, it basically makes you, it'll be a little sidebar on your YouTube thing, on your YouTube when you sign in, and it'll let you know, little numbers on there to let you know if I've uploaded something new or not, kind of gives you an alert. But even then, I'm going to let you know because I usually post something on Facebook, or I mention it in a blog post, or, I've reviewed some kind of thing in a blog. We also, of course, have the Private Investigator Advice website at privateinvestigatorAdviceHQ.com. And that's where all the blog madness happens. And that's kind of like the central hub. You can access videos and podcasts all from that one location. And lastly, you always have, people always ask me like, what do I use for this? What do I use for that? The best way to see what I use is go to the Private Investigator store at privateinvestigatorstore.net. I have some of the things that I've seen, have used, and I actually have a menu item of what I actually use. It's an Amazon affiliate store. I get a little small commission if you guys click through something and buy something on Amazon on your visit to the store. But just supports the whole madness that we're happening here today. So that is that. What else is going down? Let's see here. Oh, by the way, did an email. I sent out like anybody who subscribes to the Private Investigator Advice newsletter. Well, first of all, thank you. And if you notice, I don't spam people. I don't harass you with emails. I actually sent out my first email, like my mass first email, just kind of touching bases with the people that subscribe to the newsletter, and I try to explain, like, I don't want to bother people. You're not going to get emails from me every other day, like asking you for something or this and that, or usually if I'm going to mass email everybody on the list, I'm going to send out a big one. It's just going to let you know what's happened. It's kind of going to reiterate like what I've written about, maybe the videos that I've made, kind of keep you up to date, and maybe share something that I didn't share on the blog. But yeah, I just was kind of holding off. Like I didn't have a lot of subscribers to begin with. So I was like, okay, well, let's just wait. I don't want to harass people. But I finally put them, one out, and I just basically asked people like, hey, how do you consume this? How do you consume the content that I put out? What do you guys want to hear more about? And I've got a lot of responses. And to all you guys that responded, thank you very much. If you didn't respond, you still want to, that's fine. The email's in there somewhere. Maybe it's in your trash. I don't know. But if you want to, that's a great way to get a hold of me, and respond to something that I write. That's always awesome. And I got a lot of great ideas, a lot of great things that people want to know about, in more particular. I have a lot of work to do in the future here. I'm hoping that things kind of slow down, not too much. Got to pay the bills, but enough to where I can kind of get to blogging even more, reach more people, more videos, yada yada. So you get the idea. But one thing in particular, I'm going to try to remember exactly what this gentleman told me, but he's like, hey, I just became a private investigator, and there's this thing is called Google hacking or something to that effect. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, And so I read on a little bit more, and he told me to search Google hacking, but basically it's these different commands in Google that are not the norm. It's not your parentheses and things like that. It's how to search a site. And I guess there's a lot more to it. I'm not a super duper Google hacker. Everything I typically do gets results when I'm looking for something. There's not much that I can imagine escapes me in regards to finding information about somebody. But I'm going to dig into it deeper. I just haven't had the time to, but maybe you guys can look up, Google it, say Google hacking. Maybe you'll find some videos. I think they have like actual like conferences for these guys who, I don't know, maybe they're hackers. Maybe it's like HackCon or something. I don't know, but they have different things out there for those guys. I will figure out more about that, in the future. I'm just doing what I can here. Okay, so the thing we're going to talk about today, and we're kind of going pretty fast, which is good. I'm trying not to make my podcast so long. It's I don't know if everybody listens the entire hour. Make these more consumable for you guys. So I wrote a blog post. I've written several, but it's called "The Reason My Business Isn't Growing," and it's called "How I Define Freedom." There's a lot of people out there that are just having a hard time getting business in general. They ask, they're always asking like, how do you get business? How do you get business? And I give them the answers, right? Like I give the answers that everybody's doing. I share the answers that I've heard in the past, like from these veterans that have been doing this for 20 years. Like they're still in business. Why? Because they're doing, or they've done what I've mentioned. But I'm not letting my business grow on purpose. And I know it kind of sounds strange. Like it seems like it goes against the grain. And I knew what I've been doing, and I've kind of been doing it purposely. It's kind of hard to explain. I think I do a better job in the blog, so I'm going to try to do it verbally. to explain to you guys, like, everybody defines freedom differently. And I didn't really know that I was defining my freedom, or attempting to, until I read an article from this guy named Adam Baker. But essentially, I mean, if you think about it, everybody defines it in a certain way. Some people define their happiness by having lots of toys, right? They want the nice cars, they want the nice house, and they spend a lot of time building the wealth or the work, and they work really hard for all that stuff. And that might be how they define freedom for themselves. Some people, want a vacation. Some people want to focus on retirement because they're looking at the freedom they plan on having in the future. So they're working all for it now, and that's fine. Everybody's got a little different version of it. And this guy, Adam Baker, was in serious debt. He had just had a kid, and he tells a story on this TED Talk where he sits down with his wife. He's like, look, and he says it much better than me, but he basically says, we can't live like this. I don't want to do this anymore. And through a series of conversations they had and planning, he basically decided he wanted to sell everything, and everything he had, but what he had in his wife and him had in a backpack. And he just had a new kid. So he sells all his stuff, pays off all his debt, jumps on a plane with his wife, and he goes to Australia. He goes backpacking for a year in Australia. Pretty amazing. That's how he envisioned his freedom. He was defining his freedom by not having all this crap, and trust me, I got a lot of crap, so I'm so far from that point in my life. But where it was just like he was more worried about the experiences with his family, and doing that whole backpacking thing. And they still worked over there in Australia. Apparently his wife did some teaching over there, just, kind of have money to live. But that's how he defined it, the experiences that he was going to have with his family. And I'm on the same path, essentially. I want to keep my business load to where I'm not sacrificing this awesome time in my life, right? I don't want to spend all my time building something right now, not maybe not in the future, but building something so big, so enormous, to where I have to put myself so much into it, to where I don't see my kids. I can't go and do things with them. I can't go take these 2 weeks vacations whenever the hell I want. I can do whatever I want right now, right? I don't own something so enormous to where I'm not flexible enough to be like, let's go to Idaho for a week, or, whatever. I can do that, right? As long as I have the money, I can do that. But not everybody can do that. Some people, let's see, when I was just employed with the company, all right, I was just employed. I had 2 weeks out of the year that I got to do something. That's bullcrap. So I get to, have a meaningful vacation with my family only 2 weeks out of the year. Well, that's crap. What kind of life is that? I'm not going to, living to where you are so restricted by your vacation time. Now, don't get me wrong. There's, you can kind of negotiate your schedule when you're an investigator working for people, and say like, hey, I'll work the front half of the week and give me a 4-day week and things like that. Yes, that can be done. But this is a great time in my life. And I see growth right now. For me, this isn't everybody. And I'm not saying don't grow your business. I'm not going to say that. But for me, I see growth right now as a threat to this freedom that I have with my family, to be able to take my kids to school, pick them up, work a certain amount of days a week so I can, participate in these things, maybe go on field trips. That's how I define freedom. That's what makes me happy. And it's not for everybody. Not everybody thinks about these things or has the same family situation to where, that matters. Some people don't have any kids, so it's just them and their wife. And someday it will be that with just me and my wife, where we're just like hanging out and like, okay, well, let me go build my business now. I don't have a retirement, and I kind of live like, to be honest with you, like I'm just going to work for the rest of my life, and I don't mind that. Now, I know that there's an older generation that's like, doesn't maybe think like that. And not everybody thinks this way. And I don't want to define it just to the older generation. But my father, for instance, he's all about not working anymore. He's like, he's just working for, the remaining time left to where he can retire and then do whatever he wants. But I have a neighbor who's like 76 years old, 77, he works every day of his, he works 40 hours a week. He's been doing that forever. And he's still out there working in his yard, and he's okay with that. He probably doesn't have to work, but he does. He just does. It keeps him busy. I don't mind, if I'm working when I'm 70 years old, I think I'll be okay with that. It'll keep my mind sharp, And who's going to suspect a 70-year-old private investigator doing surveillance if I'm still doing that? Huh? Probably not many people. I wouldn't be very intimidating. Maybe I might be creepy if I'm sitting in a car. It'd be harder to sell my pretexts. But yeah, so that's basically it. Now, I know you're probably out there going, dude, you work hard now, you build your business up, and then you got all your free time. Unless I'm in some corporation, the people that I know that have grown their businesses to $1 million of revenue, $2 million of revenue a year, the guys that I know, even $250,000 of revenue a year, they are still very involved to where it takes up so much time. That's just, it's not any better. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. They're still just as involved, if not more, in their workload, and they don't have all the freedoms because that's just how it is. So, every business is different, and I can't say that, what I've seen is how it's going to be everywhere, but this is how I define it. This is how I'm making a living. My bills are getting paid. We're having a lot of fun. I'm enjoying, my whole thing is just I want to join my kids now because, when they hit their teens, it's already started to happen, but when they hit their teens, that's it. I have a feeling that I'm not going to see them very much, and we're not going to have a lot of time together, and they're going to be playing with, hanging out with their friends, and that's just, that's how life goes. But, I guess I'm selfish. I want to spend time with them now. So that's why my business isn't growing, guys. And don't forget, I got the podcast and I got the blogs, and this isn't the only blog I do. I do a lot of blogs. But I do this one and I do other ones, and then I do the videos, and I do enjoy doing that. And in some ways I kind of think that's my exit strategy out of the private investigator world. Not necessarily totally, but if I could work from home, write articles, who knows? Maybe that's my little dream. But I'm sure you guys have yours, whatever yours is. So, but yeah, that's basically it, guys, for that topic. Check out Adam Baker. Just watch his TED Talk. If you go to was it manversusdebt.com or something? He's got a TED Talk video on there. Just watch it. It's kind of inspiring. I think most TED Talks are, but this one was good. It's kind of touched the core with me personally, so I thought it was maybe worth taking a look at. Last thing we have on the agenda is I did a, go ahead and talk about it now. I did a DVR Mini 8 U8 covert spy camera review. So let me, if you guys are watching the video, here it is. It's all there's a metal flashing on it that's glued. It fell off within the first couple days. I don't know. It doesn't really serve a purpose. I don't know why they put it on there. It's this little black shiny kind of I don't know, flat tubey thing. I guess that's, yeah, I'm so descriptive. So yeah, I got this. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So let me check it out. I got it for about $20 on Amazon. If you go to privateinvestigatorstore.net, it's I think there's a link to it on there. And so I did the review at home, in my office. It's well lit, and the timestamp's fine. It's easy to program, your date and time, very easy. Unlike the 808. It's and the quality wasn't horrible. It's not great. I'd give it a C plus maybe. That was just indoors and controlled lighting, in a situation like. So then, I finally get it out there and I'm working with it, right? And I get this guy in a store and I start videotaping him, and then he goes outside and I'm walking out with him, just videotaping him walk out. And whatever, he goes to his car and leaves. And so I got to review the video later, and I'm like, okay. The video in the store was kind of as long as you're steady, the video's fine. The lighting's fine. Everything's pretty good. B+ video. As soon as he stepped outside, there was this overexposure of light on this camera, and it was undiscernible what was happening. You could barely see what was happening. I'm like, are you, you were almost good, camera. You were almost good. So, I mean, I don't know. I actually spent the money and bought another one just thinking that it might be the camera. But if, this won't reflect the actual written review of it or the video review of it. This is an after review, an after show review of it. If it's indoors, I think you're golden. I mean, it's a little blurry if you move around too much. Sometimes a little pixelated, maybe slightly around the edges of things. The steadier, the better. You can hear the audio on it, which you can remove using I can't remember what it's called now. I made a video for it, but yeah, definitely indoor. It's fine. You can hold it nice. It's got a little USB. It comes with a cord and everything, but you can literally just plug it into your I'm all talking away from the thing here. You can just plug it into your computer and pull the video right off of it. Overall, it's definitely something you consider having in your repertoire. I know I say that with most things, though I can tell you, like, practically, I haven't used a lot of the spy cams in all the reviews I've done. I only probably used a handful of them, like actually used them in the field. This is one of them that I've used. I'm still using it. Still like it. There's other ones that I've done, like the mini DVD. I tried to use it like a month ago. The mini MD80. Excuse me, mini DV MD80. I can't even say that. Don't say it 20 times fast, but you can't. So, I use that one, and the video quality is always great on it, but I aim the wrong way every time, and it just drives me insane. Like, there's this great activity happening, and I can't seem to point my hand in the right direction with this camera. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. If somebody else has that problem, let me know. I would love to know that I'm not the only one. But anyways, so, yeah, check that out. It's at the PI Advice Store, or excuse me, the PrideInvestigatorStore.net. Check that out. I am an affiliate for it. I only try to recommend things that I think will be good for you. And yeah. So for all of you guys that have, wrote me and said, hey, I want to learn about this, I've got all those emails, and I plan on, going over those topics again. If I haven't gone over them, or if I have, doesn't matter. I appreciate that you guys took the time to write me back, and that was pretty awesome. So the newsletter, if you guys ever want to sign up for that, I don't spam you guys. You probably get barely ever get emails from me unless something special is going on. But there's a little box on the side and on the bottom of the Pride Investigator Advice website, and you can just fill that out, and it'll just confirm that you want the newsletters, and you'll be good to go. So let's see here. I think I have some outro music somewhere. Maybe not. And boom, chakalaka. Maybe not. There we go. Gosh. I need like a guy just to do this for me, just for the show, beginning and end, so I don't screw this up. Boom. Yeah, so anyways, guys, hey, thanks for listening. I hope you guys had a good day today. Hope you got your case safe or your day job. Maybe you haven't plunged into the PI advice world. Excuse me, the Pride Investigator world. You can jump into the PI advice world too if you want. That's cool. Come by and say hi. Facebook it up. The more the merrier on Facebook. I just basically, I try not to spam on that. I try not to post too much, but usually it's the stuff I've written, I'm writing, I've videoed, you name it. So anyways, guys, have a good one, and I will talk to you soon.
PI Podcast.